This is the entire Fortnite storyline from Chapter 1 to Chapter 3. Structure of the storyline. Thousands of years ago, a powerful energy source called the Zero Point triggered the Big Bang and created everything we know. The Zero Point lies at the center of the Omniverse with its very own homeworld, Reality Zero. Before I tell you when and where the story begins, you need to know the basics of Fortnite, the factions, sides, and how it all led to Battle Royale. Reality Zero is a beautiful island with a deadly storm orbiting it, which protects the Zero Point and everyone living on the island. But one day, the storm suddenly turned against the island and nearly wiped out all of humanity in Reality Zero. Thankfully, a mysterious group known as the Imagined Order made their way to Reality Zero and defeated the Storm King, the entity controlling the storm. However, while the Storm King was gone, the storm remained, so as a solution, the IO dug underground to safety from the storm. The leader of the Imagined Order is a mysterious man named Geno. He is a scientist and a researcher who is obsessed with protecting and perfecting the Omniverse. The way he did this was by creating an organization, them being the Imagined Order, and making sure they were capable. Thanks to Geno's skills as a scientist, he found a way to make himself and his comrades immortal in a way where they wouldn't die of old age or diseases, but can still die to pretty much anything else. Geno also did this with his daughters before they were born, naming them after his organization. Nevertheless, Geno began his plan to experiment on the Zero Point, and to do this, he called one of his high-ranking commanders, Dr. Sloan, a female prodigy who grew up in the Imagined Order and quickly made her way to high ranks. Sloan recruited lots of people from different realities to work as field agents for the IO. One of the agents became good friends with Sloan. This was John Jones, a seemingly normal person who would soon become really important to the storyline. Anyway, Sloan and her agents were able to use the Zero Point's power to create the loop, the thing that creates Fortnite itself. The loop seems like a game, but in reality, anyone who gets trapped into it loses their memory and are overdriven by a strange influence that makes them violent towards anyone and everything. Luckily, there are certain ways to escape the loop. The most known is by standing in the eye of the storm, which acts as support for the loop. However, you have to be the last person alive in order to escape. The other method is mostly used by the Imagined Order's field agents. They use the Zero Point's power to create portal devices containing pure portals which allow them to travel through any portals to any reality in the Omniverse. The IO's field agents use the portal devices to take random people from their realities and throw them into the loop, trapping them until they figure out a way to escape. The Imagined Order also had to constantly protect the Zero Point from peril and danger because of its power that attracts evil people, most notably the Last Reality, who are a group of aliens and evil cubes who intend on destroying any reality it comes across. The kidnapping plan went on for a while until 4 people inside the IO decided to do something about it. These were the Foundation, the Scientist, the Visitor, and the Paradigm. Thanks to the scientist's expertise, he was able to create airtight suits that would prevent the effects of the loop from taking place. Soon, the daughters of Geno were replaced by snapshots cloned to people who escaped the loop, for failing to escape the loop first like their father expected. They later joined the 4 individuals and carried out their name as the Imagined and the Order. Sometime later, the leader of the Last Reality, the Cube King, walked away because was weakened and captured by the IO. Eventually, he was able to escape. He thought about how he needed to stop the IO's bad deeds, as well as the Last Reality from destroying reality. He ran into the 6 individuals at an unknown location. Despite knowing who the Cube King is, the Foundation gave him a chance and held out his hand, offering the Cube King to join him and his team. The Cube King agrees and joins, becoming the Origin. Together, they all became a united group known as the 7, with their own specialties. The Foundation is the leader of the group and makes sure his team is all together on the same page. The Scientist is an experimenter of the group who always makes new gadgets and weapons to use against the IO. The Visitor is the silent warrior of the group who, as he doesn't ever talk, but is one of the best fighters. The Paradigm is the pilot of the group as she learned how to pilot giant mechs on her homeworld. The Imagined and the Order are non-identical sisters of Geno, joining the 7 after being betrayed by their father and seek revenge and justice. And finally, the Origin is the general field tactician of the group, as he comes up with battle plans to win against the Seven's enemies and foes. Now that you know the structure of the storyline, it's time to continue to the start of it all. Season 4. One day the islanders noticed a bright blue comet in the sky but soon realized it was a meteor. Sometime later, the meteor crashed onto the island. The government of the island immediately caught on to this and built a site around the meteor. The IO also caught on to this strange occurrence and sent one of their field agents to watch the government's actions on a hill near Dusty Divot. As time went by, the meteor gained a hole opening up the meteor and releasing the visitor. The visitor wrecked the government's base before making his escape onto the island. Unfortunately, the IO's field agent caught the visitor and warned the government, causing them to fly around the island in a helicopter searching for the visitor. Meanwhile, the islanders were making a superhero movie. They built a supervillain base with a rocket that would be powered by energy hot rocks delivered to the islanders by the government. There were also protest signs being set up at Tilted Towers for the movie. The visitor needed an escape off the island before he was discovered, so he took action and hacked the rocket. The day of the rocket launch, everything was going like how the movie intended until the rocket rifted away from Tilted Towers. It kept rifting and flying around the island until finally escaped the island's force field and left a massive rift in the sky. This was a big problem because the rift was directly connected to the 0 point, which made things on the island like gliders, loot llamas, and even the dirt burger at Greasy Grove to rift away to other realities. Season 5. A few days later, in a Canada desert, a random person named Drift from our reality planet Earth got rifted into Reality 0 along with his golf cart, the dirt burger, and random objects from other realities like a Viking ship. Upon Drift's arrival, he met other islanders, those being Bright Bomber, Cuddle Team Leader, and Rex, who introduced Drift to the island. They went to various locations on the island. However, during their adventure, the massive rift in the sky teleported one nice thing to the island, and it was not good. A purple cube teleported to the island and started traveling around the island, leaving behind dark ruins with purple glowing symbols. The islanders, including Drift and his friends, ran into the cube, and at first glance they thought it was friendly, giving it the nickname of Kevin. And so Kevin the Cube continued its journey until it arrived to the middle of the island at Loot Lake. Kevin the Cube immediately melted into the water upon trying to cross it, revealing its weakness. Afterwards, the water around Loot Lake basically became a giant purple bouncy house. Everything seemed normal again. Season 6. When two islanders who worked as lifeguards were putting up no swimming signs at Loot Lake, the ground suddenly started to shake, and the island at the middle of Loot Lake started to rise up into the sky as the water was decontaminated. Kevin the Cube has returned, but the islanders were still too simple-minded to know that this was bad, and instead everyone partied during Halloween. The IO were the only ones who took action by sending some of their field agents to study what Kevin the Cube did, leaving the only thing for them to do was watch what happened next. Kevin the Cube started floating around the island, traveling to each of the ruins it left behind in Season 5 and extracting its power from them before returning back to Loot Lake. A few weeks later, Kevin the Cube built up a lot of energy and summoned portals in the sky, spawning armies of cube monsters onto the island. The IO agents quickly reacted and fought back against the hordes of cubes, but can only hold out for so long until they had to retreat. Kevin the Cube dropped dark energy under the island in an attempt to destroy reality, but the 0 point stayed strong. So, Kevin the Cube used its last remaining energy and spun around intensely as all the islanders watched. Just then, Kevin the Cube exploded, almost wiping out everyone and everything on the island, but luckily, the islanders were teleported to the In-Between, which rested inside the 0 point. The In-Between acted as a gateway, allowing anyone or anything to go to any reality in the entire Omniverse. Before the islanders could do anything, a bright blue butterfly rifted everyone back to the island. When the islanders returned, everything was peaceful and seemingly restored on the island, with the only remnants of Kevin the Cube being a few shards that rested at the middle of the lake. The island went back to harmony, thinking they wouldn't be bothered again for a long while. Season 7. Meanwhile, in another reality, there was an ice kingdom on a frozen moon led by the Ice King. The Ice King and his friend, the Fire King, had one goal in mind: to collect dangerous weapons and artifacts that endangered the Omniverse and lock them away for eternity. However, the Fire King became obsessed with the artifacts and wanted to keep and use them for himself. A giant battle broke out over the two former friends, and the Ice King came out victorious, freezing the Fire King and imprisoning him, but not before the Fire King summoned his monster, the Devourer, onto the Ice King, destroying the Ice Moon, causing it to land onto the island. Sergeant Winter, a high-ranking scout of the Ice King, sent his walking snowman servants to scout the island. Due to the temperature of the island, despite it literally being Christmas time, the iceberg that crashed onto the island started to melt away, awakening the Ice King. But he wasn't the only person who woke up, as the Ice King's old friend, the Fire King, escaped the Ice King's dungeon after being imprisoned. The Ice King quickly caught onto this and went to Loot Lake to retrieve the shard of the remnants of Kevin the Cube. Then the Ice King traveled back to his castle, and he used the power of cold temperature to cover the entire island in a blizzard, and used the shard of Kevin's remnants to search for and destroy the Fire King. As expected, the Fire King survived and regained his strength. The blizzard slowly started to go away because of a strange rise in hot temperature. The trees at Reeling Wood started to become dried, and soon enough, everyone knew something was about to happen. Season 8. The Fire King summoned a giant volcano as the space, completely wiping out Wheeling Woods. Then later, pirates arrived on the island looking for treasure, as they always do. Strangely enough, the Ice and Fire Kings were doing the same. At the end of the battle, nobody on the island knew what was really in the treasure chest. Sometime later, the island's government had thought they located the Isle's base and started digging near Loot Lake. The islanders helped break through the vaults that were dug up. However, the vault found at the middle of Loot Lake is too strong to be opened. The islanders found ruins around the island and brought them to the vault to open it. While the vault is being opened, the smoke from the Fire King's volcano starts to become thicker. The islanders go to the vault and find 6 options of old items they can add back to the loot pool of the island. The islanders also found a desk with a helmet in front of a strange-looking orb that turned out to be the 0 point. The islanders choose to bring back the drum gun, and as they leave the vault, the entire island shakes as the volcano erupts, hitting Greasy Grove, the Ice King's iceberg, Polar Peak, and Tilted Towers. The islanders quickly run to cover from the volcano's ruthless attack. 2 islanders, Jonesy and Pewley, find a bunker and hide inside protected. Soon after, the Ice King defeats the Fire King once again, freezing him into the ocean surrounding the island. The Ice King went back to his homeworld, the Ice Moon, before he got damaged by the volcano's attack. Season 9. Many years later, the bunker trapping and protecting Jonesy and Pewley was opened by a group of seemingly futuristic heroes. However, they were part of the IO as for the group leader, the Singularity. Everything again returned back to normal. The IO saved the island by using the 0 point's power to drain the volcano and using the effects of the loop to heal the island. Old locations that were destroyed like Greasy Grove and Tilted Towers were built into a futuristic theme. During the volcano attack, one of the fireballs hit Polar Peak, revealing some type of one-eyed creature that was revealed to be the Fire King's monster, the Devourer, to be trapped inside the ice. A few weeks later, the Devourer broke free from its imprisonment and fled into the waters of Reality Zero. The Devourer made unnoticed appearances once in a while, destroying parts of the island. The IO quickly caught onto this and decided to do something before the Devourer could do more damage. In fear that the 0 point might be in danger, the Imagined Order planned to build a doomsday machine that would destroy the Devourer for good, but would also wipe out everyone and everything on the island. However, a prisoner of the Imagined Order offered a deal to prevent the destruction of the island. This prisoner was later revealed to be the Paradigm, one of the members of the Seven. She offered them if they didn't build the doomsday machine, she would help them defeat the Devourer by piloting a giant mech to defeat it. While the IO were fine with their original plan, they agreed to the deal. Over the next few weeks, the Singularity and members of the IO, including Jones, built a giant mech at the pressure plant until it was finally ready. The IO released the Paradigm, and as she promised, she piloted the mech. The Devourer emerged from the water near Lazy Lagoon and was ready to attack. The Devourer made its way to Loot Lake as the Paradigm inside the mech started to rise up from the pressure plant. The Devourer started punching the vault, intending on getting in and stealing the 0 point's power. However, it stopped when it heard the charging of the mech's rockets. The Paradigm fired multiple missiles at the Devourer, destroying the Ice King's castle on its back, knocking it back a little. The Devourer was about to attack again. The Paradigm fired a second set of missiles at the Devourer, again knocking it back. The Devourer had had enough of the attacks and fired back, shooting some type of green laser beam out of its mouth. The mech was damaged, but quickly back onto its feet. The Devourer roared as the Paradigm charged the mech toward the Devourer, tackling it into the water. Soon after, the mech emerged from the water. Seemingly it was victorious, but the Devourer sprang back up from the water, pouncing onto the mech and started ripping it apart. The Paradigm swung the Devourer off the mech, losing an arm. While the Devourer started to get up again, the Paradigm fled to Blue Lake, not thinking it took some of the 0 Point's power to overcharge the mech. As the Devourer charged toward the mech, the Paradigm quickly pulled a maneuver, punching the Devourer, knocking it down instantly. The Paradigm made her way to kneel tilted as the Devourer slowly picked itself back up. The Paradigm and the IO had one more trick up their sleeve. The Statue of Singularity was a sword the entire time, and knowing this, the Paradigm transferred the 0 Point's power from the Mega to the sword. The Paradigm and the Devourer had one final stare down, and in one glorious moment, the Paradigm struck the Devourer through its eye with the sword, killing it instantly. As the Devourer's skin evaporated away, leaving only the bones remaining, the Paradigm did the most famous dance in Fortnite, the floss, and saluted the island before flying away into the depths of outer space. During her grand exit, she crashed onto the ice moon and was seemingly forgotten by the world. Season X. Despite the Paradigm's victory, she did possibly the worst thing during her battle. She took the 0 Point's power, leaving it exposed and severely damaged. One day, the 0 Point imploded, sending everyone to a mysterious dimension. The islanders experienced and saw items, locations, and random things from the past. Some of the sights were even things never seen before from other realities. Eventually, the islanders were put back onto the island, and everything was frozen in time. The 0 Point only became more unstable, which gave the other 5 members of the 7 an opportunity for an attack. They were able to make the IO retreat, saved the other imprisoned member of the 7, the Origin, and they took over their base, the bridge. The IO's retreat didn't fix anything, as the 0 Point was still becoming more unstable and could explode, ending all reality at any minute. The scientists made devices and put them at different locations, creating rift zones, shifting the locations into different realities. The reason the 7 did this was to try and stabilize the 0 Point, but they had no luck. So then the 7 created a plan they were sure would work. However, it was extremely dangerous and would risk them using the bridge to the imagined order, possibly forever. Before they put their plan into action, they warned everyone on the island, including the loopers who were still trapped inside the loop, that the end was coming.
They are not the only ones watching, but it must be done or we lose the bridge forever. I speculate that no one calculated the formation of the island, that interdimensional matter collisions would resolve rather than push. Now that I witnessed it firsthand, it's obvious that pinching alone made it inevitable. When I hear this again, will it help me remember? Or once looped, will I be just as muted as the others? No matter, it seems the lengthy precautions worked. The galactic theorem was a success. You arrived outside the loop at the exact moment of expansion. This effectively paused the singularity, giving us time to create the devices needed to synchronize the junction. What I didn't factor was that the only way to trigger the device was from within the loop itself. Thus this hasty and primitive recording. And why not you? I find myself looped. Activate the beacon at precisely the moment this timer reaches nothing. The 0 Point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end.
The loopers and the islanders gathered together and prepared themselves for the end as the 7 put their plan into motion. The 7 built a rocket out of parts from brutes, and when the timer hit 0, they flew their rocket through time and used the rifts to replicate 6 other rockets. They all flew around the map, just like the first time back in Season 4. The rockets all flew into the same rift and then appeared over the frozen meteor from the very beginning of Season 4. They all flew into another rift, looping and making it bigger and bigger as the rockets flew faster, draining the slowed energy of the meteor. Then finally, the meteor crashed into the rift along with the 7. After a silent moment, a rift appeared in the sky directly over Blue Lake. The rocket brings back memories as the red laser targets the 0 Point as it collides into it, sending everyone on the island flying into the sky. Then the last 6 rockets came from the second rift and guided the meteor down to the lake. As all the rockets broke off, exiting reality zero, the meteor crashes into the 0 point, making it completely implode. The 0 point then creates a black hole, sucking everything into the 0 point, and in one quick moment, everything was seemingly gone, just like that. Afterwards, the scientists left one last message to everyone, and it was the end. Chapter 2, Season 1. After the end, the Imagined Order were able to make it back to the bridge and took control again. It took them 2 days to restart the loop and heal the 0 point, and they were successful. Meanwhile, in another reality, Thor, the god of thunder, and his partner Galactus notice a rift coming out of nowhere in space. Galactus feels the power connecting directly to the 0 point and is consumed by his hunger. Galactus decides to go to the power and take it for himself. However, Thor is much faster and flies through the rift first. Back in Reality Zero, the Imagined Order sent a scout team called Ego to explore and investigate the new island that they created. Luckily, the scout team survived their plane crash upon arriving to the island. The team do various things on the island, like fishing for loot. Then they go into the loop to see if everything is working. After finding out everything in the loop works, they exit the loop. However, upon doing this, they create snapshots of them. Their snapshots soon became their enemies as they created their own group called Alter. The two groups overcame many battles until things started becoming off. Islanders noticed things around the island are turning gold. The last thing they noticed turning gold was at the middle of the island. The Islanders start suspecting, but it's already too late. Chapter 2, Season 2. A man with a golden touch by the name of Midas takes over the middle of the island, setting up his own HQ called the Agency. Midas also takes control of Ego and turns it into Ghost. Midas orders the agents of Ghost to cause chaos on the island. The IO immediately hop onto the situation until they take control of Alter, turning it into Shadow, and use those agents to fight back against Ghost, which is exactly what Midas wants because he has a top secret plan no one knows about but would soon be revealed. Ghost and Shadow rapidly fight back against each other over the next few months as they claim locations on the island as their bases while still continuing their war. With all of the chaos breaking out around the island, the Imagined Order noticed nothing about Midas. Meanwhile, him and his daughter, Jules, was working on a doomsday device to destroy the loop. Fortunately for Midas and Jules, the IO had no clue about their traitorous acts. Before the IO could catch on, Midas and Jules had finished the device. This had to be done inside the loop or else it wouldn't work, so Midas sent himself and the device into the loop. A few minutes before the loop reset, with the storm circle being extremely small, Midas activated the device. As several energy pistons arose from hatches around the agency, the building itself exploded as the device was revealed, as it ominously rose from underground. The device connected to the energy pistons to start pushing back the storm. While everything seemed to be working as Midas planned, a looper watching suddenly got teleported into an unfamiliar office. As the looper tried to examine the office, they were quickly teleported back to the island. The device had failed to completely push back the storm, and it only made things worse. The entire sky became purple as the storm slowly closed, engulfing the entire island. And right before the loop reset, the device regained power and prevented the storm from closing. As the device and the storm fight for the control, the device eventually pushes back the storm away from the entire island, and for a moment everything is peaceful. The loop has seemingly been gone for the first time. Then suddenly, the device sparked and started lowering back underground. The looper was again teleported away from the island, back into the mysterious office, and can hear someone talking from outside the room as there are shadows of people running in panic. The looper is then teleported back to the island to see a giant frozen wave of water towering over the land of the middle of the island. Somehow the storm had taken a new form of water in return, symbolizing the loop was not destroyed. Midas' plan had failed, and knowing the IO would soon catch on to him, he escaped the loop and fled onto the island. The looper was teleported one last time to the office. The voice of the person was again talking, and then as the door opened, the looper came face to face with none other than John Jones himself. Completely taken off guard on what's going on, Jones asks if they can hear him, but before the looper can answer, their perspective goes completely bright as they hear a weird looping sound playing in their head. Before they knew it, the Looper was back on the battle bus and the island was almost completely flooded with water. Jules was eventually captured and kicked out of the Imagined Order for her deception and replaced with one of her snapshots. Chapter 2, Season 3. While the island was completely flooded, this brought new opportunities for the islanders. Sharks have made their way to the island by water. While they were vicious like any ordinary shark, islanders took the opportunity to actually go water riding with sharks by using fishing poles. A few months later, the water on the island had drained, leaving the islanders to discover vehicles like cars, taxis, trucks, and sports cars, which helped them get around the island more efficiently and effectively. A few weeks later, inside the loop, the god of thunder, Thor, had finally arrived to warn everybody about Galactus. He was immediately attacked by a squad of loopers who usually shoot at anyone due to the effects of the loop. As Thor relentlessly fought, he began to forget his memory because of the loop's effects. While Thor didn't remember anything about himself, he still remembered that he needed to bring superheroes to the island to defeat Galactus. Thor mustered his power and summoned multiple superheroes to the island, including Iron Man. The loopers immediately aimed, threatening the superheroes as they aimed back. The two sides have a quick standoff as Thor immediately interrupts them and tells everyone about Galactus and how he's coming to devour the Zero Point. Everyone becomes allies and they start their plan to defeat Galactus. Chapter 2, Season 4. About a month after the arrival of the Marvel superheroes, Tony Stark, or famously known as Iron Man, builds and sets up energy pistons around the perimeters of Frenzy Farm. A few days later, Iron Man teleports his HQ, Stark Industries, over a Frenzy Farm, which luckily didn't destroy it. Soon enough, Galactus drones start appearing on the island. The islanders and superheroes fight against the drones and are able to keep them from destroying anything. Despite all the chaos, Iron Man was still able to keep his plan in motion. As Galactus slowly got closer and closer to the island over the next few months, Stark-themed battle buses appeared at Stark Industries. Before Iron Man could tell anyone about his plan, Galactus had arrived to the island. Islanders, including the Looper, boarded the helicarrier and prepared for Galactus' arrival. Galactus had arrived, creating a suspenseful moment towering over the entire island. As Galactus presents himself, he charges energy and takes out the helicarrier with a single swipe from his hand. As the Looper falls to impending doom, Iron Man saves them at the last moment by giving them a jetpack. Iron Man fills the Looper into the situation at hand. As Galactus stages his hand over the entire island, he extracts energy from the middle of the island. He eventually rips the Zero Point out from the ground and starts to get its power, but suddenly the Zero Point shoots out a powerful energy wave, unbalancing Galactus. The Zero Point was trying to fight back, and since Galactus is so powerful, it triggered a reality collapse. As everything again slowly started to get sucked in by a black hole, Iron Man saves everyone by teleporting them to the in-between. Iron Man finally adjusts his plan to defeat Galactus and send him back to his reality. Iron Man used the loop to multiply his weaponized battle buses into billions of them. The battle buses all contain powerful bombs, and if all the buses went into Galactus' mouth, it would create an explosion big enough to defeat him. The Looper and billions of battle buses fly towards Galactus as they fight their way through his drones. Galactus takes a furious swipe and misses the Looper, going back to extracting the Zero Point's power. The battle goes on until Galactus eventually spots the Looper. Thor quickly saves them by guiding the battle bus through Galactus' fingers. The Looper then flies the battle bus up Galactus' arm and flies their way through more of his drones. The Looper is then blocked off by a bunch of drones until Wolverine comes in and destroys all the drones in one big attack. Everyone then comes face to face with Galactus, and all of the battle buses fly into Galactus' mouth and as they blow up and defeat him, sending him back to his reality for good. Chapter 2, Season 5. After the defeat of Galactus, the Isle's HQ, the bridge, is undergoing chaos. Jones suddenly wakes up, entering his ringing phone in his office. Jones's boss, Dr. Sloan, informs him that the Zero Point has been exposed and sends him into the loop to fix it. Jones uses the bridge to locate the best hunters across all realities, including the Mandalorian himself from Star Wars. Jones is busy all season recruiting hunters. He didn't know the IO were doing nothing to fix the Zero Point. And because of this, the Zero Point becomes more and more unstable every time he recruits a new hunter and brings them into the loop. The initial plan involving the hunters was to cause pure chaos so nobody would be able to escape the loop. The IO eventually sent 2 guards up to the surface to get a look at what's going on. Every time Jones recruits a new hunter, he would make a reality log to send to the IO describing what the reality he visits looks like. But shortly after, during one of his reality logs, he realizes the IO aren't listening to anything he's saying, despite them losing control of the 0 point. Jones confronts the IO and straight up tells them sending back and watching reality in is not who they are, but goes on to say it's not who he is.
Reality log, doesn't even matter. What's the point of recording these logs if you're not going to listen? We've lost control of the 0 point. Do you get what that means? You must not, because you're doing nothing. I've dedicated my life to the Order. I've given everything. And for what? To just sit back and watch reality end? That's not who we are. At least it's not who I am. Not anymore.
In the next reality log, Jones tries to access a restricted file codenamed A752. After giving 2 attempts, he realizes and mocks the IO that they have no time to stabilize reality but have plenty of time to revoke his credentials, which is exactly what his boss, Dr. Sloan, did. Jones tries one last time attempting to get access to any and all data relating to the 7. At this point, Jones is fed up with the IO and decides to take matters into his own hands before it's too late.
This is Agent Jones requesting access to restricted file 8752. This is Agent Jones requesting access to restricted file 8752. Really? No time to stabilize reality, but plenty of time to revoke my credentials. This is Agent Jones requesting access to all materials related to the 7. Oh, great! Okay, if you're not gonna give me what I need, I'm just gonna have to take it.
He sneaks back into the bridge and steals information on the 7 and goes back to the island to fix what he started. Chapter 2, Season 6. Jones goes back into the loop and takes a battle bus to the island. Jones witnesses the 0 points destabilizing by the minute as Sloan panics on his earpiece, urging him to escape the island and save himself. Jones denies Sloan's order and doesn't hesitate to tell her he's going to the 7, the IO's arch enemy, for help. The 0 point shoots out an energy wave and knocks back the battle bus and the portal device out of Jones's hand. He jumps down and retrieves his portal device, but immediately finds himself seconds from death. Luckily, Jones survives the landing and losing 99% of his health. Jones is relieved to find himself alive while Sloan keeps yapping on his earpiece. Jones gets tired of Sloan begging and destroys his earpiece. Many minutes later, Jones makes it to the desert region of the island and runs through the middle of a battle royale where he is attacked and protected by several of the hunters he recruited. Eventually, he makes it to the 0 point. He charges up his portal device to a specific level and throws it into the 0 point right before it implodes. A silent moment takes place, and then a meteor teleports in the sky and crashes onto the island, nearly killing Jones, but luckily he's able to take cover before it hits the ground. The meteor cracks open, revealing a door, and as the door opens, a mysterious figure, soon revealed to be the leader of the 7, the Foundation, walks out the meteor and onto the island. Jones tries to reason with the Foundation upon approaching him, but he recognizes Jones, so he immediately attacks him, knocking him back into a 0 point crystal. Jones saves himself by telling the Foundation he could get him to Geno, the leader of the Imagined Order. The Foundation asks Jones if he can also get him to the Sisters as well. Jones agrees, but tells him only if the Foundation helps him stabilize the 0 point. The Foundation agrees, and the two get to work. The Foundation gives Jones his portal device back and tells him to get the looper ready. Jones looks confusingly around and spots the looper standing right behind him. Jones recognizes the looper from Season 2 during the events of the device, but doesn't waste time preparing the looper for what's to come. The Foundation flies up to the 0 point trying to stabilize it. He addresses Jones to the looper once the 0 points start to bloom. There is no going back as he tries to get control of the 0 point as the portals spawn and due to reality's breakdown. Jones closes the first portal, causing the 0 point to shoot a reality wave. A reality wave is one of many types of energy waves the 0 point emits that can change anything in the blink of an eye. Jones warns the looper but is turned into a butterfly. The looper is instructed by Jones to take his portal device and close the portals. The looper closes the portal, making the 0 point start to form a flower-like symbol. Jones uses his newfound power as a rift butterfly to teleport the looper to the next portal. Jones and the looper go from portal to portal, closing each one until there aren't any left. The 0 point blooms over the entire island, but unfortunately the damage has already been done and there's no stopping the 0 point implosion. The Foundation makes a faithful decision. He summons a strong structure called the Spire and starts to seal himself inside the Spire with the 0 point. Jones tries to convince the Foundation he doesn't have to do what he's doing, but because there was no other way to save reality, the Foundation and Jones both make a sacrifice. Jones overloads his portal device, sealing and healing the 0 point, trapping the Foundation inside. They were able to contain the 0 point's blast, but with Jones' portal device, he gets trapped inside the loop. Sometime later, in another reality, Batman fights a rift in Gotham City and gets teleported to the island. Batman immediately loses his memory because of the loop and starts to roam the island. He finds himself seemingly resetting every 22 minutes and marks down everything that happens in the last 22 minutes. Eventually, Batman escapes the loop and meets others who have also escaped the loop before him. They all work together to find a way to escape the island and go back to their homes. While on their mission of escaping the island, they find out a few things. First of all, the entire island is surrounded by an invisible barrier, and anyone who comes into contact with it evaporates, killing them instantly. On their journey, they find a bunker that leads to the IO's HQ, the bridge. Batman finds a device that plays a tone that will open the bunker. Before everyone heads inside the bunker, Batman sends Fishstick to scout ahead of the group for any booby traps. The group then goes underground. They fight off IO guards who were in the room with them and soon find out Fishstick had been badly wounded by someone or something. It's already too late for Fishstick, so the rest of the group fight their way to the bridge. They find the 0 point, and one of the islanders jumps onto the 0 point and tries to go back home, but instead is ripped apart into millions of pieces that are scattered across an endless number of realities. Witnessing this, nobody dared to go near the 0 point until they figure out a way to control it. Batman and his team eventually find out how to set the 0 point's focus on one reality, and so one of the islanders are finally able to go back to their home world. Afterwards, Batman calls out one of the islanders for killing Fishstick, as the wounds were the same as the ones on his weapon. The islander admits that he was working with the IO the entire time and quickly set the course to Gotham City and got away. Luckily, Batman was able to go back as well. Many months later, lots of Jones' snapshots start appearing on the island with no explanation until now. A powerful man by the name of Raz wants to discover the secrets of the Spire because he claims it has been calling to him in his dreams since he was a boy. Raz manipulates the looper into helping him, but during the journey, the looper investigates the other spires around the map where they communicate with the Foundation, leaving only one message. The looper talks to Jones' snapshots around the island, but has no sight of Jones himself. The looper then talks to Jonesy the First, as he warns the looper while the Spire will grant people power, it also exploits their biggest weakness. However, if someone does get a hold of the Spire's power, Jones doesn't stand a chance. The looper goes off to stop Raz from locating the artifact he was searching for, but it's already too late. Raz has been completely corrupted by the Spire, but is defeated by the looper as they take away the artifact, which has turned out to be a shard of Kevin the Cube, or that's what it seems. Later on, an islander named Mari creates a show she calls Hot Saucers dedicated to aliens. While Mari's show seems friendly, she is actually hiding a big secret nobody knows about. Mari also receives messages from several islanders except for this one specific message. Mari reads a message from Dr. Sloan as she orders Mari to cease all of her talk about aliens. Mari ignores the warning and keeps on with her show. She then asks her fans if any of them know who Dr. Sloan is because she is rapidly warning her and ordering her to stop the alien talk. One day, Mario decides to share her secret with everyone. At first, she hesitates, but eventually she manages to get the words out of her mouth that she's been seeing UFOs in the skies. Thinking Mario is safe, she shares what she saw until she is suddenly cut off. The next time everyone hears from Mari, she rarely talks about her sighting of the UFO or any aliens whatsoever. The only thing she hints is to keep their eyes in the sky. UFOs then constantly start appearing over the island and abducting islanders. And especially with the weird crop circles that burning burbs start appearing as well, it's clear aliens were on their way. The Imagine Order set up bases around the island to prepare for the arrival of the aliens. Chapter 2, Season 7. Soon an entire mothership arrived at the island as its shadow covered it like a blanket. While all of the islanders were excited and celebrated the arrival of the aliens, the Isle played a melody on a piano, attempting to communicate with them, as Sloane watched from the sidelines. The hatch at the middle of the mothership ominously opened and levitated the spire into the sky. It then shoots down a purple beam, destroying the spire. Witnessing this, Sloane believed the Foundation to be dead and moved her main focus to the aliens. However, it turned out the Foundation survived and was teleported to another reality, falling into the ocean. In Reality Zero, alien biomes spread to different parts of the island, mostly in the middle. Small weaponized UFOs called saucers roam different locations on the island. While the islanders welcomed the aliens, they were actually at war with the IO, which meant Sloane had to recruit a few loopers skilled enough to take out alien forces. Sloane recruited a few loopers, which would use payphones around the island to conversate with Sloane. Soon enough, the aliens sent abductors onto the island. Anyone who was abducted revealed that the aliens were running tests in exchange for loot. Obviously, the IO found this very suspicious, but there was really nothing they could do about it. Alien parasites also arrived on the island, who were being planted by a little alien named Chucky, controlling an alien-like robot named Zeke. Sloane mostly sent the loopers to spy on Mari or deal with alien forces. However, after an emergency at the bridge, she realized there was a mole in their ranks. Someone had gone rogue inside it with the aliens, and Sloane clearly knew it was connected to Joseph's betrayal. So then Sloane sent the loopers to the bridge to find out who the traitor was, while she searched for Jones. A few weeks later, the mothership started abducting locations on the island, trying to locate the Isle's base. First, it abducted the Slurpy Swamp, then Coral Castle, aka the most useless and hated location on the island. The aliens just couldn't find the Isle's base, but were sure they would know soon thanks to their spy, the Mole. While the simplest choice would be Zoe, a shape-shifting alien, the loopers were partially correct. While Zoe was on the alien side, the real traitor was still under their noses. A few weeks later, Sloane let the loopers in on her secret project that would soon defeat the aliens for good. Sloane built countermeasure devices and staged them under her base of operations Corning Complex. However, in the testing, Sloane found out someone rigged the bombs to explode early. She quickly ordered the loopers to fix the bombs, and afterwards, they found a clue that would lead them to their target. After a while, they had finally found the traitor, who was revealed to be Maven. She explained how she saw the aliens as the good guys and the IO were the bad ones. The loopers refused to listen to Maven, so they captured her and brought her directly to Sloane. And while she was upset finding out Maven to be the traitor, she strangely enough let her go and even told Maven that her base was at Corning Complex. Maven soon told the aliens about this in hopes of getting revenge, but little did she know this was all part of Sloane's plan. The mothership had arrived at Corning Complex and was ready to abduct it. Meanwhile, Sloane was on the ground filling in the loopers on the plan. Soon enough, the mothership abducted Corning Complex along with the loopers, and Operation Skyfire had begun. The loopers were sent to prison cells, as per usual, with Sloane communicating to them through the alien backpack she hacked. Once the patrol passed the cell, Sloane hacked the ship's systems and released the loopers so they could carry on with the mission. They eventually made their way to a bridge in the mothership and was spotted. The loopers quickly made their way across the bridge and came across a patrol who opened fire on the loopers. Luckily, Sloane was able to protect the loopers by sealing off a door. She gave them access to a transport tube. The loopers flew through the tubes and made their way to a storage area. After the loopers had a look around, Sloane reversed the tubes and the loopers made their way to the abduction chamber. Sloane used the loopers' backpacks to arm the bombs, but the signal was cut off. What came next was a moment everyone would remember. In the middle of a room, a liquid substance seemingly summoned Kevin the Cube from so many years ago. After a moment, the cube started to attack and even kill most of the loopers. Fortunately, Sloane was able to disable the cube before the entire group of loopers were taken out. Sloane re-established the signal and successfully armed the bombs. Afterwards, Sloane betrayed the loopers and explained to them that the aliens truly had them outgunned and that she couldn't bring them home or else she would risk the cube getting back to the island. In one last statement, Sloane left the loopers to die on the mothership. As the darkened cube moaned, the loopers went up to it and were able to reboot it, turning it blue. Kevin was now 11. The blue cube got the loopers away from the bombs by taking control of a platform and rising up to an unseen section of the mothership. While the timer on the alien backpacks counted down, an abductor flew past the platform. Suddenly, other platforms were also rising up, which all had purple cubes activate on them. It was now revealed the aliens had a powerful ally. The cubes were the things Sloan knew would have him outgunned, therefore revealing who the last reality actually were, an army of aliens and evil cubes. However, right before the bombs exploded, there was a gold cube that could be seen at the other side of the room, but before the loopers had time to process their discovery, the mothership was blown to pieces by the bombs. The loopers and main cubes, including the blue and gold along with debris from the mothership, crashed onto the island. Everything had suddenly turned into a nightmare. Chapter 2, Season 8. Cubes immediately start spreading corruption around the island, turning the grass orange. The dark power of the cubes also summoned sideways bubbles, which spawned in unlimited numbers of cube monsters. Fortunately, the cube monsters could not exit the sideways, unlike the last time when they didn't need the sideways to roam the island. Meanwhile, the Foundation finally woke up at the bottom of the ocean. The Foundation's airtight suit kept him from drowning, and he eventually made his way to the surface. Upon arriving, he meets Batman at Gotham City. After a tough fight, the two realize they both have a common enemy and decide to work together. The Foundation explains exactly who the Imagined Order are and who their leader was, which was Gino. Meanwhile, someone from Batman's reality called Lex Luthor was talking to a mysterious person from the IO who turned out to be Sloan herself. Apparently, the IO and Lex Luthor worked together to create the rift that appeared last time, and now they're doing it again. But this time, villains from Gotham City are planning on using the rift to go to the island and cause chaos. The Foundation and Batman show up to help the superheroes fight off the villains. The Foundation and Batman know how to close the rift, but suddenly the Foundation is pushed into the rift and onto the island by the Batman who laughs, who was disguising himself. Luckily, the Foundation and Batman are still able to close the rift, preventing the villains from getting to Reality Zero. Then the Foundation and Batman who laughs have an epic battle. The Batman who laughs cracks the Foundation's visor, meaning the loop could and would soon start to affect him. Luckily, the Foundation is able to pull off one last strike and kills the Batman who laughs. The storm arrives, engulfing the entire island. As the Foundation accepts his fate, but when the storm clears up, he realizes he was the last person alive and was standing in the eye of the storm, meaning he escaped the loop. The Foundation then flew off to go find and rescue Jones. A few months later, the gold and purple cubes all start moving to the middle of the island. Once all of the cubes reach the middle, they all converge together, creating the convergence. A mysterious and powerful person who was once in the gold cube has revealed themselves to be the Cube Queen, the controller of the cubes and the leader of the last reality. Giant cube monsters called caretakers also appeared on the island. About a month later, the Cube Queen used her cubes to create a pyramid, which is how she will execute her plan to destroy the island. The loopers noticed this, and without the assistance of the IO, it was up to them to save the island. The loopers stole some supplies from the IO and built a fort near Loop Lake. The loopers finished their fort a few days before the Cube Queen was ready to start her plan. On the day of Chapter 2's end, the blue cube, or known as Blevin, came to help the loopers and protected them, spawning a shield around their entire fort. The countdown struck 0, and as the alarm sounded, the Cube Queen started to summon lightning around the pyramid. The Cube Queen charged all of her energy and used the pyramid to open a portal to the last reality. As alien UFOs started to invade once again, the loopers fought back using guns and turrets. While their weaponry wasn't really that effective, they still had the blue cube. After the first wave of attack from the aliens, the Cube Queen expanded her portal, allowing weaponized abductors to also invade the island. As the abductors blew up locations in random spots on the island, the aliens destroyed the blue cube's shield. The Cube Queen quickly summoned cube structures around the base and spawned in caretakers to kill the loopers. While the loopers were able to hold off the caretakers for a while, alien UFOs came in to assist the cubes and took away the loopers' weapons. They were all unarmed and quickly ran to the blue cube for protection, as many of the loopers were shot down and killed. Luckily, the blue cube was able to protect them from the caretakers for a while until it was destroyed by an abductor. The loopers had lost the battle, and the island will soon be destroyed. Meanwhile, underground, Sloane entered the room and ordered her assistant Gunner to wake up someone. It turns out the IO were able to capture Jones. Sloane mocks Jones for being a hero and orders Gunner to begin the process of erasing his memory and throwing him into the loop. As there is a banging on the door, Sloane demands someone to go see what it is. Then suddenly, the Foundation arrives to save Jones. The Foundation kills Sloane's guards and breaks the machine, releasing Jones. Sloane is in disbelief, claiming she saw the Foundation die until he removed his helmet. Sloane immediately recognized the Foundation as one of the IO soldiers from thousands of years ago. She attempted to kill the Foundation but was sealed off. And also, it turns out the Foundation looks and sounds exactly like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But moving on. The Foundation and Jones make their way to the epicenter of the bridge and hold off IO guards as they proceed to flip the island. The Foundation then calls in the scientist and the visitor, letting them know phase 1 of the plan was done. The scientist and visitor saved the loopers from the last reality as they all went down into the bunker and into the bridge. The scientist leads the loopers to the epicenter and everyone meets up. Unfortunately, the Seven didn't know that caretakers were somehow immune to water and smashed the glass roof, flooding everyone out of the bridge. As the loopers swam to the top of the water, they witnessed the entire island flip over as the Cube Queen was seemingly killed due to her weakness of water. The island flipped over to the other side, revealing an entire other island waiting to be explored. Chapter 3, Season 1. The Loopers woke up on a small island nearer to the actual island where they met the Foundation, who informed them that their main goal was to defeat the IO and face off threats like the last reality. Afterwards, the Loopers explored the island. It turns out the Seven's home was actually on this island. Their home was called the Sanctuary, that also included a statue of the Seven's leader, the Foundation. They also had 7 stones for the 7 members of the Seven, with each of them having their own symbol that could be seen on their visors of their suits. Apparently, part of Spider-Man's home turf, the Daily Bugle, also turned out to be on this island. For the first time in months, everything seemed to be normal until a few months later. The island started to experience earthquakes and had no idea why. The Seven, especially the scientists, suspected that the IO were active again. The scientists launched a rocket with the help of the Loopers to find Paradigm out in space and warn her. The scientists knew how important Paradigm was and believed without her help, the Seven wouldn't be strong enough to fight the IO. The other members of the Seven, mostly the Origin, believed that the Paradigm was a traitor because Jones had told them about how Paradigm worked with the IO to defeat the Devourer. A few of the rockets failed to get to Paradigm, which convinced the scientists someone was working with the IO and was sabotaging the rockets. Luckily, the scientists and the Loopers were able to get a rocket out and that reached the Paradigm. While it indicated the Paradigm was coming back, it was really just a misfunction in the Paradigm suit due to the weather conditions on the ice moon. Many small spots on the island were destroyed by sinkholes created by the earthquakes, like a coffee shop, a random house, and finally one of the Seven's outposts. Soon enough, a secret IO base inside a mountain in the snow biome called Command Cavern appeared. The scientists warned the Loopers that war was about to start, so everyone prepared for the upcoming wars that would end either the Seven or the Imagined Order.
Greetings, unauthorized trespasser. It's come to my attention that you are intercepting sensitive communications meant only for the Seven and our allies. A crime which you will now pay for with your life. I'm kidding. It's actually good for you and the Loopers to understand the gravity of the situation. We stand on the brink of annihilation. To put it lightly. Not today, and maybe not tomorrow, but soon we will be at war with the Imagined Order. The Seven will lead the way, and it is my sincere hope that you will follow us into battle when that day comes. But today is not that day. Today, we have peace. I suggest you enjoy it while you can. Learn everything you can about the island. Gather your allies and stand ready.
Chapter 3, Season 2. The war between the Seven and the IO had begun, and a giant drill called the Fortress dug its way up to the surface near Loop Lake. Multiple forces on both sides rapidly fought and lost forces in the battle. The two sides were evenly matched, as the IO had tanks, planes, blimps, and cannons, while the 7 had armored battle buses, helicopters, and rocket launchers, and teamwork. Soon enough, Sloane arrived to the battle herself and used a device to disable building. Luckily, a few of the missing members of the 7, such as the Origin and the sisters Imagine and Order, came back to fight with the 7, along with some heroes from the Marvel realities like Doctor Strange. The first battle dragged on, but at the end of it, the Imagined Order captured most of the island, and if the 7 didn't launch a counterattack soon, it would truly be the end of the 7. The Loopers mainly worked with the Origin and Jones to help aid in the war. The Imagine was included, but it seemed she was more focused on something else. A few weeks later, the 7 launched a counterattack at the Daily Bugle. After a rough battle, the 7 claimed their first victory in taking back the Daily Bugle and crashed the blimp above it. As the days went on, the 7 would take back the locations they lost at the beginning of the war. And during the war, it was revealed to the Loopers the Imagine also believed in the Paradigm and worked with the scientists to bring her back. Luckily, the Paradigm's AI and her suits sent battle plans and designs for weapons the 7 used went over the IO. However, every time the Imagine told the Origin about the Paradigm, he became even more stubborn. A few months later, the 7 found out the IO were making a doomsday device they called a Collider. In one of their battles, they decided to come up to a decision. They figured the only way to defeat the Collider was by using the mech the Paradigm piloted. While they planned to rebuild it, and they didn't have the resources needed to power it. Now, fortunately, they did know what they need, which was a shard of the 0 Point Galactus took with him when he was defeated. But what was unfortunate that the shard was in another reality. While the Origin still disliked Paradigm, he would bring her back so she could pilot the mech and defeat the IO once and for all. The Foundation, Jones, the Imagine, and Spider-Man made their way to the bridge that was luckily unflooded but still wrecked from the last reality's attack. They quickly killed some IO guards who were storing some type of toxic waste. On the way to the bridge, Jones ran into his office and found a picture he didn't feel comfortable showing. They finally made it to the Epic Center where they found the 0 Point. While trying to calculate the 0 Point, they were attacked by Sloane and Gunner. The group quickly calculated the 0 Point to a reality and jumped in. Luckily, Spider-Man was able to reset the 0 Point's coordinates so the IO wouldn't follow them. They stumbled their way across many Marvel realities where they ran into Wolverine and Shuri. For some reason, the Imagine fell in love with Wolverine, and in doing so, she told Wolverine everything she could about her past. Apparently, the reason Geno cast away his daughters was because he genetically modified them to be basically perfect, which is why he placed a bet on them escaping the loop first, but he was wrong. Ever since the Imagine and her sister Order has always wanted revenge on their father. Jones also had a sad history he shared relating to his picture. Obviously, when Jones joined the IO, he was given immortality, but he explained that even though the IO protected his family, they were not given immortality. Jones also married many alternate versions of his wife in many different realities, which is why he's had to watch all of his family die of old age one by one. Afterwards, the group finally locates the shard to be back near Reality Zero on the Ice Moon. The Foundation went and got the scientist and Iron Man and located the mech. They also found the Paradigm, who was still alive thanks to her suit. Upon waking up, the Foundation immediately demanded Paradigm to explain her actions of joining the IO. She simply explained her actions that she didn't join the IO, but she did help them because the IO would have built the Collider the first time if she didn't pilot the mech. Hearing this, the Foundation doesn't execute her and allows her to rejoin the 7. While the other groups try to find the Zero Shard, the others quickly rebuild the mech. The other group finally locates the 0 Point Shard. However, it is in the hands of a very powerful supervillain named Dr. Doom. Luckily, the group is able to take the shard away and charge up the mech. A few days later, Jones tells the Loopers about Pele's vision. Apparently, the Loopers needed to teach Pele how to drive for some odd reason.
You know my buddy Peely? Yeah. He's about 1 banana tall, kind of quiet, bruises easily. He accidentally drank some smoothie, which I guess bananas shouldn't do, and he had a vision. At least I think so. He's very hard to understand. But the upshot is, you gotta teach my bro Nana, to drive. Thanks for doing this.
Peely doesn't always make sense, but his sticker is in the right place. Peely says thank you, and also says the prophecy will soon be fulfilled, so you got that going for you, which is nice. And that is how you teach a banana to drive, which, now that I say that out loud, seems like a mistake. Still, nice job.
Afterwards, Peely tried to drive himself, but in the process, he owed the island thousands of gold bars from property damage. On the day of collision, the Seven brought the loopers who passed the mech trials up to the ice moon and into the mech by using little hatches. On the island, the Seven intercepted information from Geno that was meant for Dr. Sloan. Apparently, Geno had ordered Dr. Sloan to fire the collider early, which meant the Seven had to hurry. The Origin quickly tells this information to the Mecha Weapons team. The Paradigm then pilots the mech through space and lands down in Reality Zero onto the island. Paradigm and the weapons team easily fight their way through the Isle's forces. Suddenly, they are extremely damaged by a super laser shot by the fortress. The mech launched a counter-strike using the Heartbreaker laser and completely destroying the fortress. Then the mech proceeded to move closer to the collider, destroying all the shields and tanks. But then the mech gets overwhelmed by blimps firing missiles at it. The mech isn't able to fend off and drops down to the ground. When all hope seems lost, Jones calls in his friend Peely as he drove into the battle with a slurp truck. The Paradigm quickly gets the idea and uses the slurp canister to heal the mech, overcharging it. Jones and the Seven are able to destroy the collider's shield. The Paradigm drew out the mech's light blade and cuts down the remaining blimps until the mech reached the collider. The weapons team diverted energy to the light blade as the mech was ready to strike until the entire surface around the collider was suddenly detonated, and as the entire mech crew fell underground, everything went black. The others saw this, so Iron Man in his new suit charges toward the collider, but is shot down to the ground by a yellow beam coming from the collider. The Imagine quickly recognizes who the person is and calls her sister the order to come quick. They fly up to the collider with Wolverine and assault their father, Geno. Sloan sends a gunner to find Dr. Doom, but is then shot and killed by him. Dr. Doom admires what the IO are trying to accomplish, but their only mistake was thinking that they were capable. Just then, the weapons team was woken up by Jones, and they quickly assaulted the IO guards. Meanwhile, Geno tries to reason with his daughters. However, the Imagine makes an attempt to get rid of Geno by throwing him and herself into the 0 point. The Foundation then came in to help Jones and the Loopers as they go up to the block stairs. As the Foundation pushed a big rock off the stairs, the 0 point shifted its reality to planet Earth, showing the Dirtburger. The group then charged back into the battle until they were cut off by an IO brute. Jones distracts the brute while the Foundation throws a big canister, destroying it. Then the 0 point turns purple while shifting to another reality, showing Obi-Wan Kenobi dueling Darth Vader. The group then fights off the last of the IO forces until they come face to face with Sloan, who is in a tank and ready to blow up Jones. But before she can, the Paradigm boots the mech back up and crushes Sloan's tank, seemingly killing her for good. The 0 point shifts to one last reality, revealing Geno's location and that he is still momentarily alive. Jones and the Foundation jumps into the 0 point to track down Geno while the Loopers shoot and destroy the crystals, thus freeing the 0 point and destroying the collider once and for all. Meanwhile, in another reality, the Foundation and Jones landed on the surface to find the Imagine lying in Geno's arms as their atoms slowly get ripped apart piece by piece. The Foundation demands Geno to get away from the Imagine, but he briefly explains himself as his true intentions. The Imagine fades away, and all that is left is less than half of Geno's body. However, in his last moment before he dies, he asks who Jones is by identifying him as a blonde fellow. Jones is shocked to hear this, as he worked for Geno for centuries. The Foundation tells Jones to just forget it, so they head back to Reality Zero to find out the war had been won. The Foundation was able to get the Imagine back by using one of her accurate snapshots, and since the Seven were able to find a way to send all of the Marvel superheroes back home, the island had finally returned back to normal. Chapter 3, Season 3. The entire island celebrated the defeat of the IO as they threw a party at the overtaken command cavern that was turned into a rape cave. The 0 point used a lot of energy to create a giant and magical tree called the Reality Tree, which also created an entire biome full of mushrooms called Reality Falls, which also spread out, partially destroying Greasy Grove. Most of the season was pretty much just a vibe, however nobody knew someone or something was watching them the entire time. After a few months, the 0 point started to bring relics to the island from different realities. One of them was a Sith holocron, which was why the reason Darth Vader showed up.
We've got some visitors. Foundation calls them stormtroopers. I call them also stormtroopers. I'm too busy to hand out nicknames for free. I'd like to find out why these guys are here. I suspect it's related to the 0 Point's ongoing freedom issues. It sounds like the 0 Point brought an ultra-powerful relic from their reality to the island.
The scientist immediately catches on to this and creates an AI he named Amy to help him and the loopers discover whatever was going on with the 0 Point. Like always, the scientist would take note on anything major relating to the 0 Point. Over time, Amy weirdly enough got obsessed with the scientist, which I guess was somewhat part of her programming, but you never know.
Thank you for helping Amy secure that relic. She's great, right? I mean, extremely intense, and she won't stop calling me daddy, but, she's still in beta.
Eventually, the scientist speculates that freeing the 0 Point was a mistake and realizes, along with the paradigm, that the energy shockwaves the 0 Point shot out were actually galactic distress signals calling for help.
I'm beginning to think that maybe freeing the 0 Point was a mistake. I thought I had all this math right, but clearly I missed something. Ultimately, if something goes really, really wrong, it's my fault.
Those 0 Point energy shockwaves were flares, a galactic distress signal. If we don't help, it'll go dormant.
At this time, the scientist knew the 0 Point was in danger and that it had gone dormant. A few weeks later, the Paradigm noticed some of the members, such as the Foundation, Visitor, Imagine, and Order, had gone missing. Eventually, she was able to find the scientist, Origin, and luckily the visitor in one of the Seven's research labs under the sanctuary, where they were researching a strange substance that was spreading across the island. They quickly found the name, shape, and location of the substance and where it was spreading. The name of the mysterious substance was called chrome, just like its color, and it was spreading rapidly at Lazy Lagoon, which overtook the Daily Bugle, and it was also spreading near the Joneses, Shoveled Shrines, and Sanctuary. By the time the Seven could come to a conclusion, it was already too late.
Tell me you're getting somewhere. We've already lost so much of the island to that chrome.
That's not surprising given the sample's behavior. I've never seen such accelerated psychokinesis. Whoa! I'm starting to think this may be a problem.
Get out of here! That's an order!
This isn't how it ends. Suit integrity compromised. There has to be a way to fix this. Aligning to reality. 6, 5, 9.
The Herald has arrived to the island, and along with her dark presence, the reality tree lost a lot of its power, making reality fall pretty much just die. Fortunately, the No Sweat Insurance notices the problem and is able to save parts of the locations that have been taken over by the Chrome, along with the addition of the Loopers rebuilding the Isle's blimp at Rift Cave by evacuating everyone on the island as well. Jones then calls up the Loopers and fills them in on the situation.
So, quick recap. The Seven are gone, Paradigm's jumped into the 0 point, and it's all down to us to figure out what's going on with the island.
Jones and Amy at first hate each other and make an unlikely partnership, but nevertheless they get the job done with the help of the Loopers. However, it moves really slow because Jones, who wants to save the island, is now willing to get along with Amy, who only wants to save the scientist. Luckily, they also get in communication with the Paradigm from Reality 659 using the roots from the reality tree. Together, they finish the Seven's examinations by extracting a piece of chrome. However, the results are inconclusive, meaning there's no way of knowing what the chrome actually is or where it comes from.
I heard you need my help testing the chrome's environmental adaptability.
If you weren't afraid doing my bidding is helping, knock yourself out.
Go ahead and place the chrome samples into the chrome test chamber at the lab.
Results are in. Inconclusive.
So what, there's really nothing we can do?
We could find and save the scientists so I wouldn't have to deal with you.
Believe me, there are other robots I'd rather team up with. I prefer a toaster at this point.
Oh, we'd all prefer a toaster, but here we are.
The Paradigm informs everyone about the Nothing, which makes everyone increasingly worried as everyone knows who or what the Nothing is.
Stay safe. And listen, there will be no second chances here. The nothing is...
Did she say nothing? Or V, nothing, capital T, capital N.
Oh, don't pretend you don't know.
Jones and Amy get a hold of some battle plans the Origin and some Loopers drew up to deal with the Chrome when it arrived on the island. The Origin planned to attack and eliminate the Herald, so Jones and the Loopers do exactly that, but it didn't get rid of the Chrome.
When we first found the chrome on the island, everyone started developing plans to deal with it. The Origin, unsurprisingly, began drawing up battle plans.
Yawn, pass.
Amy? The only way to save the scientist is to save the island.
Get your toaster to do it.
I'm sorry for calling you a toaster, Amy.
I'll help you save the island. I just want to see the scientist again.
Help Amy find the Origin's Chrome battle plans.
Nice job. I'll upload these plans to Jones's device.
The Origin wanted to launch an attack on the Herald.
Interesting.
Fighting the Herald is a stupid idea, but it's also a dangerous idea. So let's do it.
Get your weapons ready. We gotta take down the Herald. So, how did that go? Everyone okay?
The chrome persists, but I feel amazing. Vengeance!
Instead, the Herald just respawned and continued her takeover. Not knowing what to do next, the Paradigm told everyone to cut off communications while still sticking together and having each other's backs.
I've had to shut down communication. I'm sorry. The 0 point is... I wish I could explain. Just hold on tight, okay? And stick together.
That message from the Paradigm was our signal to go dark for a bit, but I promise, this is our best shot at saving the island. And the scientist.
I have decided to trust you on this one.
I'll be back in touch when the next phase of the plan is active.
A few days later, an islander named Bites is summoned by the Nothing to do its test to become a warrior of the last reality. Bites eventually completes the test and is welcomed into the lost reality by the Nothing as they tell Bites to patiently wait for his needs of service until he is summoned.
Be always vigilant. When we have need of you, you will be summoned.
A few months later, the Chrome has taken over almost every location on the island, and the Loopers come back into contact with Jones, Amy, and the Paradigm.
We've been in a bit of a holding pattern, waiting for the next phase of my orders to trigger.
That's not true. We've executed Operation Rescue the Scientist versions 1 through 46. I really think number 47 is gonna be the one.
The translator's picking up a weak signal, which means the Paradigm's back. Here, Amy built these new signal boosters to, boost the tree signal. So, point the signal boosters at the tree, and we'll pick up the Paradigm's message.
It turns out Jones and Amy have made 46 attempts to find and rescue the scientist, but they had absolutely no luck. In the next transmission from Paradigm, she informs everyone that reality is about to end, and unfortunately there is nothing we can do to stop it from happening. However, the Paradigm does have a plan in place, but she needs information to make it work.
Reality as you know it is going to end. I know that's hard to hear, but there's no changing it now. I have a plan. Stay close and be ready to follow my lead. The scientist's suspicions were correct. The 0 point has gone dormant. I need to wake it up, and I think I know how. I need everything the scientist had on the 0 point, and that man is a squirrel, alright? So he's got that stashed everywhere.
Why are you looking at a computer? The scientist's obsession with perfection leads him to constantly destroy his notes. He's a complex man, and that is why I love him.
Yeah, dumpsters, obviously. We should have thought of that. Search some dumpsters for the scientist's vitally important reality-saving research.
She instructs the Loopers to talk to Jones to find out what he knows about the IO's Loop Breaker project.
I know it's hard to understand why we need to keep fighting, especially when we won't win. Ask Jones about the Loop Breaker project. Do you think it's confidential? It's not.
Yeah, because he keeps telling everyone about it. Which reminds me, why don't you extract everything he knows before he figures out what top secret means?
Afterwards, the Loopers get information off of a computer in one of the Seven's research labs and is able to power the 0 point back up from being in dormant. Jones, Amy, and the Loopers still need a way to get the information to Paradigm through the reality tree, so they get an islander named Bushranger, who is literally a walking shrub, to plant seeds and grow trees around the reality tree, boosting the reality tree's power and successfully getting the information to Paradigm.
I need you to find a way to send me that research. I know that's an impossible request, but there has to be someone who understands. Find them.
Understand. Ames? Do we know someone who speaks tree?
There's that weirdo who's always handing me leaflets. Oh, Bushranger, go find him.
Bushy thinks he can do it.
As the most flammable guy on the island, he better know he can do it.
Take these seeds and plant them across the island to triangulate a signal. Hey, Amy. Thanks for everything. Best friend.
Too much, too soon.
Just friends then. Got it.
Make sure you get Bushy an outfit. Some ornaments. We couldn't have done this without them. Without any of you. This should be everything I need to stay alive. Here's hoping we see each other again. Paradigm, over and out.
On the day of Fracture, the Loopers build a fort at the top of the reality tree in one final stand to defend the island. Chrome, along with Chrome Tornadoes, started to overtake the entire island as it moved closer to the reality tree. As the Loopers prepared for battle, a chrome tornado appeared in front of them and the Herald emerged, walking on an expanding chrome platform towards the reality tree. The Loopers opened fire on the Herald, but couldn't be damaged because of the chrome's healing power. As the Herald got closer, she took more bullets and eventually was weakened. The Loopers shot a rocket at the Herald, but she caught it, turning it to chrome. However, the Loopers had more rockets that fired them at the Herald, blowing her up. The Loopers immediately celebrated, thinking the fight was over, but the Herald rebuilt herself out of chrome and became way bigger. The Herald then chromed the Loopers along with the reality tree. However, the Herald was consumed by her own chrome and merged into the reality tree as the entire island exploded. Reality Zero was destroyed, but it wasn't the end. The Paradigm contacted Amy and were able to get some of the Loopers and pieces of terrain and started to reforge islands together. While Amy prepared the Paradigm suit for Zero Fusion, the Loopers worked together to find and collect Zero fragments, which would allow for the Zero Point to heal itself and recover back to its normal status. Every time the Loopers collected a certain amount of Zero fragments, the Zero Point would take terrain and locations from random realities and pull them nearer than the others. It took the Loopers 40 minutes, but they had finally done it. The Loopers collected all the Zero fragments and the Zero Point had completely recovered. The Paradigm, who was in reality 659, initiated Zero Fusion as the Zero Point then grabbed lots of terrain, items, and locations from different realities. The Zero Point then fused all of the pieces together, creating a new island which would soon serve as a new home for the Loopers and the newcomers. It was the start of a new era, the end of Chapter 3 and the beginning of Chapter 4, and that was the entire Fortnite storyline from Chapters 1 to 3. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's see where the storyline takes us next in Chapter 4.